Hello everyone. Fuck, that's probably
Yo,
too loud.
that's fine.
Let me adjust some shit real quick.
We're doing it live.
Yep, we are doing it live.
Quite literally,
Yep.
in every possible sense.
Welcome to the haunted horror, uh, the haunted horror hour. That's the name of it. it's right.
Yes.
It's literally right in front of my face. Hosted by me, borderlineotaku, and the lovely CynicalGhostie.
Whoa, I'm lovely now? That's an upgrade.
You're
Thank
always
you.
lovely. All right.
Shucks. Hello.
But yeah, welcome to the first episode.
Ain't that
Today
exciting?
Today we're gonna be talking about our experiences with horror and how we got into it.
Right, right.
Yeah. Do you want to start, CG?
I can start,
Because
since you're tired.
you've kind of already heard my side. I kind of told
I
you a little
have.
bit, but I haven't heard your side. So go ahead and tell me.
That's fair. All right, let me take you back to the good old days.
Oh boy, the good old days.
In the good old days, when I was young and naive and a big wimp. Any kind of form of media revolving around spooks and whatnot, uh, in a TV movie setting,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much made me cry
Oh yeah.
every single time. So it took a very, very long portion of my life to even be adjusted to that kind of content in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
because I was a big scaredy cat. However, from a young age, if you can't tell by my username, I've had a huge fascination with ghosts.
Uh huh.
I watched pretty much every single kind of like, I don't know what channels they used to put these things on. But any sci-fi heckin' history channel thing about ghost hunting,
Mm-hmm.
about paranormal activities, about people's experiences with reenactments, I watched all of it. And those were genuinely spooky to me.
So I was also into those ghost shows.
Oh heck yeah.
When I was younger, especially like Ghost Hunters
Oh
and
yes.
Ghost Adventures, which I feel like Ghost Adventures with Zach. I forget his full name. He looked like he walked out of a fucking Hot Topic.
It
He's
sure
like, I'm ready
does.
to hunt ghost. But yeah, no, I also love those shows. And then today I watched stuff like the Modern Rogue episode on. They did like a fucking like 30-minute episode
Hmm.
uh, on like ghost shows and stuff like that, where they did their own ghost show, and it was just like all fake.
Yeah,
um,
all right.
and
Sounds
they
about right.
showed that like that not necessarily that they might actually get something sometimes, but when they don't, the producers not even knowing to the like cast members will do
Hmm.
something in the environment that will make them go like,
Right,
whoa, what was that sound? That was some banging or something like that, you know.
right.
um so I kind of I pro- I dig the cynical approach to ghost shows. uh yes, I did that intentionally.
Hmm.
um but at the same time, like, yeah, I was super into those too. Like they're just entertaining. They really are. uh
Oh, for sure. And I
Especially,
think,
oh, go ahead.
okay, I think at least with very original ghost hunters,
Hmm.
like I'm talking really
Oh
early
yeah,
days for them.
like taps or.
Uh, yeah, exactly. They had some of the best approach to those kinds of things because they were actually genuinely attempting to disprove things.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was such a good take to it, even if like sometimes producers obviously interacting with everything, but
Hmm.
I feel like the newer generation of things like that, they try to make so much out of nothing.
Hmm.
That's been a little disappointing.
Yeah, because what was I watching? I think I was watching somebody. I think I was watching Ralph Movie Maker's video on ghost shows.
Right.
Very good video, by the way. He's super funny. Um, but it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, like we think our daughter is here. Um, we think our daughter. I think I don't remember if she was murdered or she was accidentally killed or whatever.
Hmm.
But she's like, we think our daughter's here trying to communicate with us because we hear sounds all over the place. And they even brought in like like a person who works on houses and like is electrical and stuff like that. Uh,
Right.
I don't know what you necessarily call that, like a handyman, I guess.
Sure. Technician of some sort.
Yeah. And he was like, well, all these sounds, and they like told him the experiences that they had, and it's like, well, because he talked about one TV being off and another TV like kind of switching places, like one TV turning off and one TV turning on with only touching one remote. And he's like, well, you do have a universal remote, even though it's specific to that TV. You have a universal remote, so when you turn,
it's gonna function with the other one.
It's possible.
Yep.
And so he was like, that's probably why. And then he was like kind of explaining it logically, to these people, like, hey, it's probably not a ghost. Here's literally every single thing that you've told me. Here is the reasons for it. And they're like, I don't want to believe you. And I get that they don't want to believe somebody like that because they want to believe that their like daughter's trying to reach out to them.
Yeah, when it's something so close to you like that, you're gonna have some of that like immediate reaction of, no, you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And then the only insulting thing, then they brought in one of those like psychics that's like, oh yeah, your daughter's here, like, oh, she really loves you and she misses you, and like, I don't know, I because like most of those guys are phony, like,
it's just so much of them.
Yeah, and like,
and it's so despicable to feed off of people's emotions like that for profit.
Yeah, for sure. And then because I can't even remember what the clip was, but there was this clip of a psychic being interviewed by this female, and the female was like, do you remember this little girl that you had a case about? It was like her breakout case or whatever. It's kind of got her popular. She's like, do you remember this little girl you did a case on who you thought was dead? And she's like, yeah, she's dead. I know she's dead, and blah 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 blah, like fucking psychic shit. And the female interviewing her is like, she's not dead. That's me.
Yep.
Like, she was
I remember seeing that too.
Yeah.
Oof.
And then she's like, this, you can see the psychic just kind of like freeze. That's one of my favorite clips.
It's nice. It's very satisfying because you're like, yeah, frick you.
But if you want to continue past ghost stuff, we can.
Oh right, gee whiz, huh?
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's a fun little tangent, but.
Yeah, ghost shows, great.
Oh yeah.
Fun entertainment. That's what you can lead with for now.
Oh yeah, especially like original Ghost Hunters, like that was good.
It was peak times.
I also liked the international team that they had going on there for a while.
Yes.
I don't know if they still do, but I also really like that because. So sorry, getting off on a little tangent. It's gonna be a short one, but I super dig like the history of haunted places a lot.
Yes, 100%.
So that's why I really liked the original Ghost Hunters, because they'd be like, well, all this stuff happened in the past and it might be haunted, and all these people are like, we've been seeing stuff, we've been seeing this ghost, and this ghost might be this person who did this in this room. I dig shit like that.
I love it. They always had the one person who like went to the local library, who dug up like every book about the properties. It was so cool.
Oh yeah, they really did the research, and I really like that. Even if like all the scares are fake or whatever, I still like the effort that's put into it.
Exactly.
It's not just a bunch of people.
That's the stuff I just respect.
Yeah. It's not just a bunch of people being like, oh, we got this voice recorder and we're gonna go to this haunted place, and like, oh, like shit like that. You know what I mean?
What? Did you hear the whisper? No, that was just a chair moving.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like very obviously the guy like whispering into it, like.
Yeah.
Like,
classic stuff.
Is anybody there? It's like, whoa, like, I don't know.
That's it. That's the voice of every B-list ghost hunter.
Exactly.
Took me a little too long to get that statement out. Okay. Anyway.
All right, moving on.
So, ghost stuff was the earliest introduction to anything ever, because I was a weird kid. And then about, I don't know age anymore, never mind. So when the N64 was a console.
Okay, yeah.
There was Nightmare Creatures.
Oh, fuck.
One of the only M-rated games on the N64. What a time.
I had that as well. I still have a copy of it back home.
I believe if I go 2 rooms over, I could find it.
Nice.
I think I played about like 30 minutes of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got way too scared. And then my brother played it. And I don't talk about my brother a lot, but I have an older brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually started getting into like watching horror games and like watching other people play games because I would just watch him play everything scary.
Uh-huh.
So I think my stronger, like earliest memory was actually him going through Clock Tower 3.
Oh, okay, okay.
The game I recommended you.
Yep, the scariest of the scariest games.
You know, that first section is really scary back in like 2004.
Yeah, I can see that, honestly.
Because yeah, we had only pretty recently gotten like the PlayStation 2 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I very distinctly have a memory. We used to have the futon out in like the main living room before we had like an actual couch.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just lay underneath the futon because I was scared. And I was one of those people where I'm like, if I'm covered by objects, then I'm safe. Logically.
Oh no, obviously. Totally.
Clearly. So I watched a majority of Clock Tower 3 played whilst under a futon.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
And that was the strongest, earliest memory of enjoying horror content.
Oh, that's enjoying for you, is hiding underneath the couch.
It was! Baby steps, alright?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Once we get to my side of the story, it's a stark contrast to how I am now.
Oh, for
but,
sure.
yeah,
I feel like everyone who gets into horror, like, was probably a big wimp about something at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then not too long after, like, when I was like 10 years old, I discovered Let's Plays.
Uh-huh.
And then I think about 13, 14, something like that. So like 7, 8 years ago. Oof, I feel old now. I started watching YouTubers do like different horror game Let's Plays. I got really into like Markiplier, Cryotic, you know.
Fucking Cry.
Hells yeah, man. I watched Cry for like 5 years straight.
Fuck, does Cry even upload anymore? I know that's so bad to say, but
Every once in a while he does, but
yeah.
you know, YouTube sucks. So all he does is stream all the time.
Well, yeah, even back when I was watching him pretty regularly, I think it was just like stream re-uploads.
No, I mean he was doing playthroughs for quite a while.
Was he?
Yeah.
I guess
I'm
was
trying
like,
to remember.
I guess it was like half and half, because I remember like the last Let's Play I watched of him was Haunting Ground.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's around the time he slowed down.
Yeah.
Man, freaking love Haunting Ground.
That's a game, that's for sure.
That's a game. It's a weird game. Anyway, and then I actually started branching out after like the big name horror Let's Players, and I started like really enjoying some of the smaller ones like Manly Badass Hero, Mr. Craven. Minx, you could argue, is smaller, but
for sure, I would say that Minx is probably smaller, but she has like a super dedicated fan group.
Yeah, which is really the dream.
Yeah, I know.
So that was kind of like just how I started getting really into everything, because it wasn't necessarily about like the adrenaline of being scared, because adrenaline just me do not work out. I just like freeze up and I sweat a lot. So good content there.
Yep.
But more so, I was really invested and fascinated in the different storytelling that horror as a genre has over everything else.
Oh yeah.
Is that you can tell so many different unique stories in so many different formats. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people why I'm so into horror, is just because of all the different things that horror can like talk about, and the different stories that horror can tell. I think it even rivals sci-fi in a way.
Yes, yeah.
Or, you know, I think that with horror, it's the most versatile genre.
Right.
Because you can mix so many different things with horror. Like, you can have sci-fi horror, you can have action horror, you can have
fantasy horror.
And I love all the different stories it could tell. Like, even look at the Evil Dead series. I feel that's a really good uh like kind of example, because the first one was straight up horror, the second one was a comedy horror, and then the
Yeah.
third one was like medieval fantasy comedy horror.
Like they really played around with concepts.
Oh yeah, they did, and that's like one of my favorite horror movie. That's like my favorite horror movie trilogy, honestly, because of that. And even the remake, I haven't seen it in a while, but it did a super good job of the horror aspect, and I think it's one of the better horror remakes, honestly, because they don't fuck around. Like you know, they keep the original in contact and like intact. They add a couple of things here and there, but that just
Right.
improves it, in my opinion. But yeah, go ahead. I just want to make that small little tangent.
No, it was good. It was very valid because that's just what it is, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Horror is huge. It's vast. It's super cool. I mean, like going so far back as obviously I'm so strongly tied into the video game side of horror.
Mm-hmm.
Like the RPG Maker games.
Yeah.
They're all geniusly simple,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they each tell such interesting, unique stories. You look at the Witch's House, huge plot twist at the end of that.
Oh yeah.
Ib and all of its like references to art and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Crooked Man, which like took this innocuous, innocent children's story and then just like made an entire creepy concept out of it.
Mm-hmm.
All of the different games based off of creepypastas, like the transformations from different mediums as well
Uh-huh.
is so freaking cool.
Yeah, I feel like there was a big like almost renaissance of RPG Maker horror games.
Yes.
Yeah, because as you said, you had the Witch's House, you had Ib, you had Madfather, you had Crooked Man.
Oh yeah, Madfather, that's another one I forgot. Yep.
And it was big.
Yumi Nikki, that's another good one
Yeah,
too.
no, also that as well. Yeah, there was a big time where like people were making pretty solid like RPG Maker games. So yeah, I don't know what I had to add to that.
You were just agreeing. It's good.
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah, observation, agreement.
It works, man. So there was that huge era, and that was, yeah, that would have been like around the time, the very tail end of all of those was
Mhm.
about the time when I was getting super into everything. So I like caught up on everything pretty much all at once.
Mhm.
Aoni is another one I forgot to mention.
Oh yeah, Aoni, that's a fucking big one.
It huge. It freaking got a cool movie. By cool movie, I mean it kind of sucked, but like in all the right ways.
Yeah. It got a movie last year, got an anime, or
We don't talk about that one.
Hey, I'm just
Stop
saying.
right there.
I'm just saying it was big enough to get an anime.
Yeah, and I watched it with my 2 eyes, and I regret everything.
I think I watched like the first episode, and it got like, granted, I think most of them were fan made, but it got so many sequels and spin-offs and.
Oh man, freaking! I didn't even talk about one of the biggest, most original of the RPG Maker horror games, Heckin' Corpse Party.
Oh yeah, fuck. Well,
that was the damn 90s.
Yeah, that was like 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the original. Like
that's the original. I got a bunch of remakes, a bunch of sequels, a bunch of spin-offs. Also got an anime. That one was better.
Yeah. I still haven't watched the anime of that. I need to.
I recommend it. You know, it's like nice in case you were really frustrated with the actual game, and then you can be like, well, what the frick happened in it? And then the anime tells you.
Fun.
Yeah. Tells you everything. And so you're good. You're covered without all of the dumb dying to Ghost a million times. Corpse Party is a good game. Everyone play it.
Yeah. I already did, so I'm covered.
You're covered. I've already made so many people play it.
I need to play
I made people play a lot of games.
Oh, fucking another one, Angels of Death.
Oh yeah, because that got an anime that I watched 3 episodes of and still need to finish.
I watched the entire thing. It was
Wonderful.
good. Great. I haven't played the game.
Yeah, I have a stick up of my butt about things they removed from like the game's story. I'm like, I know on every logical level, you can't make an exact 1-by-1 thing, but man, Dr. Danny didn't say peepers, and like, what's the point? You have such nice peepers.
Danny was like, Dr. Danny was just a fucking like, it's just like one of those characters where you're just like, fucking die already. Like, god
Yeah,
damn.
the game handles him so much better.
Yeah.
The anime, well, because you actually like genuinely feel like some kind of camaraderie with him because they don't play up his creepiness until way later.
Yeah.
The anime like makes him creepy immediately, and you're like, whoa, I'm supposed to trust him for at least a little bit.
Yeah. Because, like,
That was really my biggest complaint.
at least in the anime, like, it's hard to feel bad for him because he's just so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Because, like, I get his motivations and things like that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just like, fucking, like, you're like anyone else, like, they just go through all the other floor bosses like fucking that, like,
Yeah.
and like Danny just fucking lingers around, like, at one point he's literally like bleeding out, and he fucking takes some magical medicine juice, and it's just like, all right, I'm better now, I'm gonna fuck you shit, like,
After your peepers. Let Dr. Danny say peepers 2K19.
But no, other than that, like, I don't know, I didn't really have a problem with Danny in the anime. It's just hard to feel bad for him.
Right. All the animation was really nice though. They used lighting to really good effect.
I would say, yeah, it was a pretty nice looking anime for sure. Not the
When you
not the
look at
nicest,
the
but it's
game,
pretty nice.
look at the game's simple ass freaking pixels, and you're just like, okay.
This is an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, we only could go up. But I mean, that pretty safely establishes just kind of my involvement with everything. Obviously, since those days, I've kept really up on the video game side of stuff, and within the last year or two, I've started kind of delving into the movies, shows, and whatnot. Like, maybe dipping my toe into it, so to speak. Not very much.
Okay.
I mostly watch the crappy ones.
Oh, I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with a crappy horror movie every now and then. You know what I mean?
Did you ever see Unfriended?
No, I never did.
I did.
I've heard plenty about it though. I heard Dark Web was much better.
Oh, okay. I might actually make that one have a chance then.
Because it's like not a ghost. It's like actual.
Yeah, Unfriended is so bad that you can't even make fun of it levels of bad.
Oh.
Like, you just sit there in silence with your friend on Discord for about 10 minutes going, what the fuck am I watching?
I have a movie that I've watched. It's a Japanese one called Infected. I'll talk about that one a little bit later, but you want to talk about a bad horror movie?
Oh boy.
That has a big pet peeve of mine in it, where it does a double twist.
Oh goddamn.
But the double twist makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
That's the worst. If you're gonna do a double twist, you have to do it right. You have to.
Oh, actually, I think it does a triple twist.
Oh god damn it.
It does a triple twist to where one of the twists doesn't even fucking matter. Whereas then you have A Tale of Two Sisters that does a double twist that's super fucking good. But I'll get into those a little bit later.
Certainly.
When I get later into my horror stories.
But of course. I don't know what that voice was. Don't worry about it.
Oh fuck, that's your Victorian fucking vampire voice. I don't know. What is a
That'll
man?
be my new character. Oh, don't even talk about that quote because I can't escape thinking about the gif of that scene, but where he throws the glass down and then a little Roomba comes over it.
I've never seen that.
Oh my god, if I find it again, I'm sending it to you. It is the stupidest, funniest thing ever. Because it just, like, all the dialogue pauses as this little Roomba goes across.
Hey, don't lie. Dracula would have a Roomba.
He would!
A little magical Roomba.
Oh, I'm crying.
Hey, he would have a Roomba, but he would like put a spell on it that would make it fly upstairs. So it could do the whole castle.
He'll decorate it with like a little gargoyle head.
Have you watched the Netflix show?
I only got through the first season. I need to watch the second one.
Second season's really good.
I know, everyone keeps telling me, and I just need to sit down and watch it.
I binged it in like one day.
Yeah. How many episodes is it?
It's like 8.
Hell yeah. Okay, I could probably do that.
The first season was 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's double the first season, so it's 8.
Heck yeah.
Alucard is a fucking good ass character.
Okay, everyone loves those
They introduce a
characters.
bunch of good characters.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. I need it. Maybe I'll make that my priority in watching. I get to that point where I have too many things to watch,
Mhm.
and then I just kind of get overwhelmed with the choice. So instead, I just go to YouTube.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, no, that's me. That's me 100%. Because it's like, I'm really bad at like dropping TV shows in the middle of them
Yes.
and being
'Cause
like,
then you never go back.
yeah, exactly. I know it's not horror related, but I did that with Smallville. I have
Oh,
almost every
Smallville,
single
that's a
episode of
classic.
Smallville on DVD. So
Right.
it's, I think season 9, and I binged like all the way through season 7 or something like that. And it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna take a break from Smallville and come back to it, and I never came back to it.
Oh, and
Same with
you
American
never go
Horror
back.
Story, honestly.
You know, I never started that one just because, like, when I looked at it, it looked like the kind of horror that I wasn't super interested in, but I can't
Um,
say for sure I know much about it. So
I would give American Horror Story a chance,
okay,
mainly because if you don't like a season, you can always go to the next one because it's
that's
completely
true.
separate.
And it's all like the same actors, right?
Yeah, it's usually
like,
the same
just in
actors playing
different
different
world?
characters.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I stopped around Freak Show, because that's the
Yeah.
4th season, and I had just binged 1 through 3.
Right. Okay.
Um, personally,
Ties right in.
I like 2, Asylum.
Hmm.
That's just because I like the whole asylum thing going. I always like that as a setting for horror.
Hmm.
But 1 is super good, 2 is super good, 3 is super good. People say that 3 is their favorite a lot. I can see why. It's called Coven. It's all about witches.
Yeah, that already explains everything.
The first one's technically about ghosts. It's called Murder
Witches
House.
love witches. Yes. Okay.
Then you have like a Freak Show, which is about like a circus. Hotel, which is about like a kind of fucky hotel. That's the best way to describe it. Lady Gaga's in it.
Oh, all right.
What's after that? I think Roanoke is after that, and then the latest one they just did was Cult.
Gotcha.
I might have to
I
watch
like
Cult,
shit.
mainly given that I'm getting into the occult stuff, so that made me fun to watch.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, I would give it a chance because it's nice because if you don't like a season, you could skip it. Like I wasn't feeling Freak Show off the bat, mainly because the episodes were longer, and I'm like, I don't feel like watching longer episodes. I just binged these 3 seasons, so I skipped that and I started Hotel. But at the same time, I was like, I think I'm burned out. I'll come back to it. I might have to go back to, because I think
We'll
all
see
the
if that
seasons are on Netflix now, so I might,
I think so.
or Hulu, one of those 2.
It's somewhere out there.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I might have to go back to
Money.
it, finish it off.
Well, all right. I'll give it a chance then at some point here. When I run out of other things to look into.
Yeah, for sure. But
I still gotta watch the freaking House Haunted Hill bullshit.
oh, that's so the nice thing about that one is that it has a lot of horror stuff in it, but it also tells like just a really good story.
Yeah. Love
be-
that shit.
Because it tells the story about how that house and seeing these ghosts affected everyone. So you get to cut back to what happened back when they were in the house and them as adults.
Yeah.
Like
I've been really, really enjoying the storytelling aspects of it so far.
mm-hmm.
But I had been watching it with a friend,
Okay.
so I still need to see if the friend wants to continue it, and that's the only reason I've not gotten further in the show.
Yeah, there's a couple of big twists in that show that are super good, and that actually makes sense.
That's so important. It really is.
There's one really big twist at the end where if you like, they drop hints about it like everywhere, right?
Gotcha.
But it's just like one of those things you don't connect it until they actually like
Gotcha.
say it, and you think back and you're like, oh fuck, like
I love shit like that. That's so good.
like they show you this twist, and you're just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you're like, this totally makes sense. Like, they have said plenty of things about this specific thing where this all makes sense.
Right.
And at the time, you're like, they say it. I don't want to give too much away. They say it, and you're like, at the time, you're like, wait, what? That makes no sense. But other stuff happens to where you totally forget about what they just said.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me. Me, I don't try to look for twist all that often.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly just because I like to be surprised by the twist and how like if I see the twist and I can go back and think about, oh, they actually set it up properly. I like doing that instead of being like trying to find all the hints and be like, oh, I think this is going to be the twist. I get that it works that way as well.
Of course.
But I'm not a person that likes to see the twist coming. Because some people would be like, oh, the twist in this movie, like the Saw movies, right?
Right. Yeah. That's a huge like classic twist.
Oh yeah, like people in the later in the series were like, oh, I saw that twist coming from like a mile away. Granted, I was like fucking 12 when I first saw the Saw movies.
No, they're liars.
Yeah. Where it's just like I don't try to look for that stuff because I like to be surprised, or be able to look back and be like, well, I didn't set that up well.
Right. Here's the thing. My father is a stupidly perceptive son of a gun.
Okay.
And being raised by him, I've become a stupidly perceptive son of a gun.
Okay.
So while we both really like to be surprised by things, it just happens so seldomly because, you know, like after you watch enough content of things trying to do twists and stuff like that, you start picking up on what are usually the more obvious signs. So it's been really nice going through some things nowadays, especially because there's been a huge chunk of time where I've just not really been consuming media outside of like games. But like even just like being 3 to 4 episodes into the Hill House Hauntedness, I'm never gonna call it by its right name. I can't see anything happening. I can't see anything coming.
Yeah.
I have no concept of what's going on, and I like it so much.
How far are you? Like, what's like the latest thing that happened in Hill House?
Embalming the sister. I'm pretty sure that was like the last thing that happened.
Okay.
So like in the coroner's.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember the morgue.
Yeah, like the other sisters working on her.
Yeah. So all that stuff. So pretty early on still.
Okay.
But who knows? And then bugs out of mouths, you know, the classic. Spooks.
Yeah, so what episode is that? Like 3 or 4?
It's like 3 or 4. It's
okay.
Like a quarter in the way into it at most. Still got a crap ton left.
Okay. I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to spoil anything.
No, I appreciate that a lot.
But no, towards the end.
That tangent though.
There's an episode, there's a funeral episode, I think it's called Eulogy. That it's beautiful because it's like there's like this really long segment where it's a one take almost. And it's really nice. It's really beautiful.
Good old cinnamon topography. Sorry.
It's a good one.
That's not an original joke even remotely.
But is there any more as after we got off on this tangent?
Not necessarily. I mean, like, I think there's a bunch of things that obviously like were very important and mattered to me a lot in the different genre. Things like the cat lady, I think was like a really huge like turning point of interest for me because that was such a different kind of horror from everything else that I had seen.
Yeah.
Because it was so much about the psychology, sociology aspects.
Yeah.
And then that got me on a whole other train. Then The Last Door was a really big one for me personally.
Okay. Playing through season 2 right now.
Yes, I missed the first part because I've been so busy and I'm really bad about that.
You technically missed the first 2 parts.
God damn it.
It's fine though. Don't worry about it.
I will catch up. I have to see your reactions to it. And that got me really into the occult side of horror. So there's been like a lot of games that are really important to me and matter and stuff. But obviously Clock Tower 3 was super important to me, which is why I keep recommending it to people who have no idea of what they're going to experience. But yeah, that's kind of the journey it brought me here. now I'm slowly getting into movies, and hopefully through this, I will start actually watching some more
Yeah.
that are genuinely good.
So I guess with me,
Hmm.
I have three really big events with horror that just kind of like seeped into my mind. Um, where
What an Edgar Allan Poe way to describe it.
where I guess why I don't know. I like all mediums of horror,
Right.
because I feel like different things, like different mediums, can tell different stories more effectively.
100%.
Um, so with me, I told you the story of like Child's Play 2, but
Yep.
I'll just go and tell that again. The earliest, I guess actually, I guess I should start with Luigi's Mansion because that's the
Yes.
earliest. That's the earliest of the like taste of horror that I got. Um, I don't think I was ever scared of Luigi's Mansion. I might have been.
Might have been a little unnerved, perhaps.
Maybe.
Like
But
just creeping around the hallways, you know.
yeah, but given that it's just like so colorful for a horror game, it's like I said before, it's like a survival horror game for kids. Um,
Right.
to I don't think I was ever scared of that one because I think I would watch my dad play it more often, and I would try to play it and be like, "Hey, Dad, I can't get past this ghost. Can you do it for me?" Like,
Right.
uh, and I don't think I ever beat it as a kid. I think I beat it later in life. Like I would come back to play it and
Exactly.
beat it. But yeah, because I remember we would like we got rid of our GameCube because we got a Wii, and we would be able to play GameCube games. So we kept all of our
Classic
GameCube games.
Wii.
We just got rid of our Wii. But later on down the road, I got I think like in middle school, I got a GameCube. I think some dude sold me a fully functional GameCube for like $20.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. So given that GameCube is like one of my favorite consoles, I just grew up with it. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll buy GameCube. And I still think the GameCube is one of my favorite consoles. But that's a different topic for a different
That's
day.
a whole other thing.
Yeah. But so that was probably my first experience. I guess the Child's Play 2 thing came next. So I saw a scene in Child's Play 2 where Chucky was going through the papers to write "fuck you, bitch" on Andy's teacher's paper.
As you do.
Yeah, and so that really got to me. Just seeing that, like, it's not even like I didn't even see him kill the teacher. That's like literally a scene later, a couple scenes later, I guess I should say. But like I didn't even see that. I didn't see him killing anyone. But that image alone, like, freaked the shit out of me. And I didn't tell you about this. I kind of told you what happened, but I had a nightmare about Chucky that to this day I could still remember. And
Oh my goodness.
it's like one of those things where it's just like I was laying in my bed, and for some reason I wouldn't get out of my bed. But it was like it was a house layout to where I had never at that point, like, I never had this type of house layout. It was just something my fucking brain came up with, right?
Right.
To where my door was cracked open and I could hear my dad playing video games out in the living room. And the living room was like the next room over. And like it was like one of those things where like Chucky was in my closet. And I remember calling my dad, and my dad would come in. I'd be like, "Oh, there's something in my closet," and he would check it, and there's obviously nothing there.
But
And
of course.
when he comes in, and he would leave, but then I would look back, and he would get closer to my bed,
Mm-hmm.
and like I would keep doing it, blah blah blah. He'd keep coming in, keep disappearing, and like every time I called my dad, he'd get closer and closer to me, to the point where I think he was like standing on my bed at one point, looking down at me.
Oh.
And like never said anything. Probably because I never saw a scene with him talking, so I don't know what his
Right.
fucking voice sounds like.
So
So
subconsciously, you're like, I guess he just doesn't talk right now.
yeah, and like it just kept getting closer and closer and closer to me, and then like I remember at one point like my dad Like, he was like, all right, I'm going to bed. Good night. And be like, me scared out of my, like,
Yeah.
shitting my pants. Like, please don't. Like, and yeah, I think I woke up when he, like, was standing over me. Like, I fucking just woke up. It's like, and I still just remember it so vividly to this day.
Awful. Terrible.
Yeah.
Frick you, nightmares.
And then that was my movie experience. And then my TV show experience with horror was, I used to be in the Boy Scouts. I often forget myself that I was in the Boy Scouts, but I was in the Boy Scouts at one point in my life.
What youthful days long gone.
Yeah, I know, right? I think we went camping once. Well, we did go camping, but so one day, I think it might have been for my birthday. I was super young. I can't remember how young I was, but I was super young. I must have been in. It had to be before 3rd grade. But I invited all of my like Boy Scout friends over to my birthday, and this is the first time. Well, I guess not the first time, but oh, by the way, I was super paranoid by that Chucky shit. Like, I would put my feet up in the car, like on the seat.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let my feet dangle anywhere. But yeah, that's probably the extent to that. But back to the other story. I was like, I wanna watch horror stuff. I wanna watch Goosebumps at my birthday party. And I remember before we played Goosebumps, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm scared shitless right now.
Oh.
And I was like bitching out in front of
Instant
all my
regret.
friends, and my dad had to pull me to the side. It's like, no, we're watching this, like blah 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 blah. And I was a bitch. Like, I think I was almost on the verge of crying, being like, I don't watch it. I don't fucking don't want to watch it. Like, watch it without me. Like, it's like I want to get a different movie. Like I haven't even seen anything yet. Like,
Yeah.
I think after the fact I said it wasn't so bad, because the first one we watched was The Haunted Mask 2. Or it might have been the first Haunted Mask, which I would argue is probably one of the scariest Goosebump episodes.
It's one of the ones up there, yeah.
It's pretty fucking up there. Like, I think that, and probably I think we watched Living Dummy 3 that night.
Boy.
God, I can still fucking remember what we watched. Yeah, it was that and Living Dummy 3. And I think at the end of it, I was like, that's not so bad. I think I was a little bit scared at one point, but yeah, I was a bitch. And I remember the first video game that scared me, funnily enough, was the Haunted Mansion video game.
Dude, there's some genuinely spooky things in there.
I
mean, not nowadays, but as a younger kid, totally.
I remember getting through it fine until I got to the kitchen, because I think that's when like the siren ghost is introduced to you. And it was like super dark, and I never got past that kitchen area because I was like, I don't want to play it.
Duh. Big baby. I'm gonna make fun of you just because I'm like still scared to play horror games. So.
The only horror game that has scared me, I remember in recent memory, was when I streamed Welcome to the Game.
Yeah, that shit can spook you.
Just because of atmosphere.
Oh, totally.
Atmosphere is what gets me nowadays.
100%.
Not even like jump scares. Like, some jump scares will kind of get me if they're just kind of like unexpected, but
yeah, but it's not like genuine fear.
No, it's just like a jump. You know what I mean?
Such a difference.
It's a. I don't know. I wish we had a word for that. It's just like a jolt, you know?
Yeah.
Like, your body's just like, and then you're done. Like,
and you're done. You're fine. You're like, okay, I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah, it's like,
it's so nothing.
you jump and you're like, oh, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah. What a cheap shot.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's like my youngest memories of horror. And then the big horror, so you got into ghosts, but the thing was, my thing was zombies.
Spook.
Zombies
are cool as hell, so that's valid.
I really got into zombie movies. One of my favorite zombie films, I don't think I watched until later, was Return of the Living Dead, which I feel still really holds up to this day, and I feel is a really good film. So if you ever want a good zombie movie, please watch Return of the Living Dead.
Duly noted.
because like the zombies were actually smart.
Yeah.
In that one.
That's the stuff that's spooky.
And they couldn't die. So that's one of the reasons I really like it, is because the zombies can't die. Like, you can't kill what is already dead. And it actually gave a motivation to the zombies to why they eat brains. Like, these are zombies that actually eat brains. Because
like classic ass zombies.
Oh, yeah. So the whole thing about them is that they can feel themselves rotting on the inside, and it hurts them. And eating brains is like a good thing for them, because it makes the pain go away. So that's why they do it.
Brains equal drugs. Not even once, kids.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, like there's this one scene that shows how smart the zombies are, where these two cops, they call the cops, they're stuck inside this like mortuary. They call the cops show up, and the zombies attack them. And one of the zombies goes to the radio inside the cop car, and it says, like, officers down, we need backup. So more people show up. Which I fucking love that. I love that scene. I think he says send more brains at one point. But still, it's to that point where
conspicuous.
Yeah, I know. It's to that point where they show intelligence, like they're actually smart.
Yeah.
And there's this one scene where like one of the main characters turns into a zombie, and his girlfriend is up in the attic hiding with the doctor. And he's like talking to her, and he's like, "Why won't you let me up? I thought you loved me. Like, I still love you." And he's like trying to like bash, like he's trying to like get into the attic the entire time.
Right.
And that's a super good scene. I think that's just a good. I haven't seen any of the sequels. I would like to see the sequels. I heard they're not as great. But it's a good
Sometimes
like.
That's how it be.
Yeah. Like the first zombie that you ever see. Actually, you don't actually see him for a while, but the whole plot is that there's these chemicals inside this thing where there was a real zombie outbreak, and there's these containers that keeps the zombies in, and they have this gas in them, and it's so funny because it's like the stupidest start to a fucking zombie apocalypse, right?
Right.
Because, you know, he's like, hey, like, they mentioned Night of the Living Dead. And they're like, hey, you ever see that movie Night of the Living Dead? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, that's based off a true case. And he's like, the stuff that caused it, we got it in the basement. So they go down in the basement.
God.
This, like, new guy and his boss go down in the basement. It's like, here they are. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, are these like good? Like, are these safe? And they're like built by the military. And he's like, yeah, these are built by the army. These are sturdier than anything. And he hits it, and fucking gas just leaks out onto them.
God damn it.
And it starts like bringing everything into, because they're like an anatomy warehouse, I guess. They like sell shit to like colleges and stuff like that. And like everything that they have starts coming to life. Like,
wow.
They have a corpse that they have in like the freezer because they're about to like send it off somewhere for like study. And that comes to life, and they have like this half of a dog that comes to life and starts barking and like moving around. But yeah, like it's so cool. It's such a cool movie. I forget what they called the zombie, but the zombie that was in the barrel comes out, and he's all like fucking rotting, and like he's just like, the way he walks and everything. It's such a fucking cool moment. There's a scene where a character, I'm really getting off on the tangent of this movie.
That's okay.
But there's a scene where a character's hiding in a closet, and she locked it. So there's like a chain reel down there. The zombie grabs the chain reel, wraps it around the doors, and starts cranking it so the fucking doors rip off.
Okay, that's sick as hell.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a super good zombie movie. But I digress. Let's get off of that.
Right.
So really got into zombies. Rest in peace, George Romero. I was in basic training when George Romero died, so I didn't learn until months after that he died.
Oh,
that he had passed.
That's so sad then.
I know, right? And so I was super into zombies, so that got me into like World at War zombies and Black Ops zombies on the video game side of things. And I guess I played Dead Rising as well.
Nice.
I played Dead Rising 1 and 2. I think it's the only
Once
Dead
again,
Rising.
showing the versatility of the horror genre.
Yeah, I know, right?
Heckin' Dead Rising.
Especially Dead Rising 2. It's like, you
Yeah.
want to make a fucking stick with 2 chainsaws on it? Like, fucking do
Do
it.
that shit. Get the what it was fucking called? Zombrex or
Yeah,
whatever?
Zombrex.
You're your daughter.
Yeah. And if you don't, she turns into a zombie and you gotta fucking shoot her. Like,
Yeah, fuck.
uh,
What a good game series.
but yeah, and then like I think later on they made Chuck go fucking crazy.
Yeah, man, I don't even remember how that game ends anymore.
Well, I think he's fine, and then he shows up later in like a DLC or something or a different game, and he's like fucking crazy.
You know, that sounds about right.
Because I think, oh, it's like the timeline where his daughter died.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so
okay.
he just fucking loses it. I think it's Case Zero, where he plays
okay.
Frank West.
I never saw too much of that game. Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that far.
It's where it's where you play as Frank West, and I think you
and
work
he's
with
got
him.
the assistant girl. Yeah.
Yeah, and you play as Frank, and you come across Chuck, and he helps you for a little bit, but he has this teddy bear that he thinks is his daughter.
Oh.
And after a while, he just fucking loses it and turns on you, and you have to kill him. But
Oh, gee whiz.
yeah, that's the worst timeline. But yeah, so I super got into zombies. So I would play like almost every single zombie game. Eventually I got burned out from zombies. And zombie movies and stuff like that. And I feel like my next favorite mythological creature was vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Though I haven't really like delved into vampires as much as I have zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the concept of a vampire much more though than zombies.
You know, you'd think with my favorite animal being a bat and all, I'd be more into vampires,
Yeah.
but they're really low on my list.
Oh really?
Yeah, I guess just because I've never had a piece of media that's attracted me to them very much.
Yeah.
I just like them in concept, but I don't have like a foundation to build off of.
Yeah, and I don't even know what really got me into vampires. Maybe Dracula, but
Yeah.
and the history behind that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like anything big that got me into vampires, honestly. I don't really
Maybe
think.
one day you woke up and you just realized they were cool.
Yeah, maybe. Fuck it, you know? Huh.
Friendship ended with zombies. Now vampires best friend.
Yeah, and I still like zombies, to an extent. If it's like different, I don't like kind of like the generic zombie movie.
Friendship drifted from zombies.
I don't like the generic zombie movie. I think one of my favorite zombie movies was Land of the Living Dead. I think that's what it was called, where they're like inside the city.
Can we talk about how bad zombie movies are named?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like,
God damn it, guys.
I like any zombie movie made by George Romero, which Land of the Living Dead was made by George Romero.
Yes.
And then he did one in a mall, I think.
Yes. My father loved that one.
That one's really good too. Because I remember it had a George Romero like 2-movie pack where it had Land of the Living Dead and whatever the mall one was.
Yes.
And Land of the Living Dead was the one where they're in the city. And that one was kind of cool too because I had like a unique kind of thing where one zombie was kind of leading a horde of them because he was kind of like fresh because he was a gas station attendant that would like fill up your car for you. And he was still doing that. Like, obviously, it was like a repeated, like, kind of thing. But I like the idea of the whole muscle memory thing, right? Where the brain totally isn't rotted. It still has, like, some of its, like...
You know, say what you will about the movie Warm Bodies.
Okay.
They pulled that factor off excellently. All of the zombies were still, like, doing their muscle memory occupations.
Yeah.
The narrator made fun of it. It was great.
I haven't seen Warm Bodies because I was at the point where I was kind of like out of zombies.
Yeah, it's not really worth watching, but also watch it anyway. It's just Romeo and Juliet, but with zombies.
Oh, fair enough.
And comedy.
If I ever see it on Netflix or Hulu, I might watch it.
it's one of those. You might as well.
But yeah, I think because I kind of jump everywhere when it comes to horror, I think that's why I'm so like kind of spread out into all the
Yeah.
mediums.
Yeah.
The horror reading, I guess I'm kind of into that. Like I've been reading Lovecraft and stuff like
I
that.
was about to say, like, you just bought books.
Oh yeah, and then like the occult shit, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
Reading through the Necronomicon, but yeah, I think books is more of a recent thing. I read the Miss Peregrine series, which you can I would consider more supernatural than horror, but has some horror elements in it. But then
There's a fine line there.
yeah, and then obviously like I kind of got into horror anime and horror manga, specifically Junji Ito, and that's where
Big man himself.
oh hell yeah, and that's where I kind of am today with all that different kind of stuff.
Freaking borderline otaku, jeez.
Hey, that's what my name is.
Yeah. Look, you made a pun on my name earlier. I had to do it.
Oh, I get it. Fair enough. And then recently, like getting into Japanese horror, just because it's different than American horror.
It is. It's super different.
It's super different, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All the different avenues, like Maribito, made by the same director as Ju-on.
Gotcha. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know their name.
Takashi Shimizu. And that one's super unique, because it's about this dude who goes into this like underground world that's like another world, and he grabs this like kind of like ghoul girl. I guess that's how you could describe that, and he keeps her in his apartment and like feeds her like blood and shit like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it like takes her places and shit like that. And turns out the entire time it was his fucking daughter the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those twists where it's like, what the fuck? Like it puts so many things into perspective where you're like, wow, this guy was just a shitty person. Like
Yeah.
And just treated his daughter awfully. And that girl you saw the entire time was his ex-wife, but he just saw his ex-wife as a stranger. Like, and I think it was just like had a really good psychological side to it, which I always appreciate.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot with at least the Japanese horror that I've seen. There is so much emphasis on like the psychological aspects. Like
So
a lot of the plot twists revolve around that.
yeah, where I can get into those plot twists I was talking about earlier with Infection and Tale of Two Sisters.
Ah, yes.
First, I'll talk about Infection because it's a fucking god awful movie. It's really shitty. And I don't give a fuck if I spoil it. I will spoil Tale of Two Sisters, so warning on that, because I can't really prove my point. If I don't talk about spoilers.
Of course.
So Infection is about this Japanese hospital where this guy comes in with like some fucking rare disease, and if it infects you, you go on like a murderous rampage.
Okay.
And people start killing each other, right?
Okay.
And very obviously people start killing each other, and then I think themselves die after a while. Kind of almost borderline zombie movie.
Yeah,
that's my new name now, Borderline Zombie.
We've upgraded, we've changed branding.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I see borderline word follow after it, I'm like, I think of my name every single time.
Oh my goodness.
But hey, that's the marketing ploy, all right?
Ain't it?
Oh fuck. I looked at the font of my name in the thing I made, and that just totally brought up something else, but I'll get back to that later.
Okay.
My mind tends to jump places, but
I understand, don't worry.
But so it shows people killing each other, like, right? And this one doctor, their head doctor, dies. And this other guy takes over, and they're like, hey, we gotta hide this patient, right? And we gotta hide him. We gotta like decompose his body so we can fucking hide it, right? Because
Right.
the cops can't know. Because like this,
Cops can't know, man.
no, because this hospital's on the verge of shutting down, right?
Right.
And they're
of
like, hey, if
course
we
it
have any more
is.
fuck ups like this, they're gonna shut us down. We're gonna lose all of our jobs. And they're trying to deal with this guy, this infected guy, and then the head doctor the head doctor who died because of it. And they're like, they put his body in a room, and they turn these heat lamps on. And the twist, it goes along, and the twist is that the main doctor dude who took over for the head doctor, he was like, he thought he was the head doctor, and he was the actual person killing everyone, and there actually wasn't a virus, it's just him killing everyone because he went fucking crazy. And he thought he was the head doctor, or like the head doctor was possessing him, right? And so he fucking kills everyone. And the police come up and was like, oh, nope, it was him in the entire time. And, like, that was supposed to be the twist, right? Is that there was no infection. It was just, the infection was a metaphor for him losing it.
Gotcha.
And then it shows the fucking green stuff from the infection in a fucking locker in the hospital. And so the infection was real. So it's just like... and it's just so shittily portrayed to where... maybe you could think like, oh, the infection was sentient and it blamed it all on him and it doesn't want to be known about. But it's so fucking stupid. Like, the way that they convey it, it's just like, it's so quick. It's like, it shows the main doctor dude and you're like, wait, what? And then like, it just shows you through imagery. It doesn't really explain anything.
Oh.
And it's just like,
any other circumstance, showing through imagery is a smart move or
Yeah.
very clever.
Yeah.
Not in this case.
Yeah, because take account for like the Saw movies, right? The Saw movies shows you its twist and how it's set up through imagery.
Yeah. That's
And
great.
it does a good job of that. But Infected was just such a piece of shit, and it hits you so fucking quick with it all, and you're like, does this even make sense? And I'm like,
Question mark?
and I'm like, I'm done with this, and you're going away, and never to be watched again. But Tale of Two Sisters, right?
All right. I'm
It
ready
pulls
for this
off
shit.
a double twist very well, because it's about, obviously, as the movie implied, a tale of two sisters. And they go to their father's house. I guess being from I think their mom just died, so they're going to live with their father again, or they just go live with their father in the summer.
Okay.
And so there's a stepmom and the dad. Well, the thing is that the stepmom is abusive to one of the sisters, the younger sister. And so the older sister feels super protective of her, and like despises the stepmom. And so like the stepmom beats this younger sister and stuff like that, and the dad's not doing anything about it. So the older sister is super mad about it, and because the dad won't do anything. Because like it kind of shows that like maybe it's because he loves the stepmom and doesn't want to like, because he was through. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, he's been through a divorce, he doesn't want to lose another wife. So he kind of like turns an eye to it.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse, by the way.
No, but it is a reason.
It is a reason.
Well, it's his character explanation in that regard.
So here's the thing, right? Is that you think that's his reason.
Okay.
But then one of the twists comes along, right?
Twist number one.
The twist is that the younger sister is dead. And that it's like it's in the older sister's mind. She's like because she freaks out, right? One time she's beating her, and like look how scared she is, and you're not doing anything, pretty much, kind of thing. And the dad's like, I don't know what you want me to do. Your sister's been dead for years.
Jeez.
And so that's a huge revelation. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like she's not dead. And then so you think, right? You're like, what the fuck? Like you see the stepmom beat the younger sister, so what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck's going on? And you see through a later scene that the stepmom the entire time. So everything's through the perspective of the older sister, right?
Right, of course.
And
so that we get the most skewed perspective possible.
Yeah. And so there's this
which works well in horror.
There's this later scene where you see the stepmom like shove the younger sister in this fucking bag, and she's like beating the shit out of this bag. This bag's bleeding as like the stepmom's like dragging it along, and like the stepmom, like after it's son like said and done, like sits down on the couch somewhere, and like before the scene you see the dad call somebody, and it's like, you really need to come over here, like shit's getting bad. And this person that the dad called arrives and walks to the door, and when it's like, it's a low shot so you can't see who it is, but as she walks to the door and gets to the living room and sees that bag, there's no blood, and it pans up and it's the stepmom character, and it turns out that the fucking older sister had a mental break, and she was seeing herself as the stepmom the entire time. Like anytime you saw the stepmom, it was her, because she wasn't there. Because the dad knew that since this older sister had a problem with the stepmom, the dad like kind of sent her away.
Gotcha.
Just so it wouldn't trigger anything. But she was still like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then you kind of learn why that this older sister doesn't, because the young daughter accidentally hung herself. Like it was, or either that, or I remember a dresser falling on her, and she kind of like dies from that. And the stepmom saw the body but didn't do anything about it because she was just so freaked out.
Yeah.
There's obviously like a shock on her face.
Right. It's like deer in the headlights kind of a thing, where you're like, I've never anticipated the situation, and now it's just happening.
Yeah. And so like there are kind of hints throughout it, because every time you see the stepmom at like dinner, like the daughter would dress up as the stepmom and like do shit the stepmom would do.
Okay.
And there's this part in the movie where the stepmom just fucking loses it and just goes like, she's like, there's ghost in the movie, but I think it's more symbolical than the actual ghost, because only the stepmom sees these ghosts, and she fucking like loses it. And you're like, whoa, this is super weird for the stepmom character, because she seems very calm and composed up to this point, and this is just a scene where she just fucking loses it, and it's never brought up. And then once you learn that it's like a mentally ill daughter who's doing all this, like you're like,
everything makes sense.
Yeah, and like the ghosts are more like, I think, symbolical of her mental illness than anything.
Makes sense, yeah.
But yeah, it's a super good film. I would consider they on the side of the box it counts it as like a horror movie, but I consider it more of like a family drama kind of thing, because the ghosts are completely symbolical. But still, super good movie. Even if you do like know the twist, I would still probably say you could enjoy it.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm really interested.
Yeah.
So I might actually go like try and seek it out.
It's a good one. I bought mine on DVD. Like I have the DVD of it somewhere up here on my shelf.
Heck yeah, in your collection.
Yeah, in my collection that got fucking bigger and takes up more than half of my bookshelf thing that I have on top of my desk.
Right.
But yeah, it's a good film. It's really good. But going back to why to my little tangent earlier that I thought of, something I totally forgot to bring up in my love of horror.
Yeah.
The fucking Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's something that really kicked me off into horror, because that was my first kind of like slasher series I ever watched.
Yeah.
And still my favorite slasher series to this day. Dream Warriors is the best, which is number 3.
Yes.
Given that,
I
you know,
hear that a lot, actually.
yeah, given that, you know, you can't really beat the original. 2 is probably the most homosexual horror film ever made.
Okay, I'm sorry, what?
So,
we can't just drop these words like this.
So the director of, no, was it the director? Well, the director put a lot of like homosexual themes into that film.
Okay.
And at the time I don't know why he necessarily did it. I don't remember why he did it. I think there was a reason, but off the top of my head, I don't.
It happened.
Yeah, it did. And it was a thing that wasn't picked up at the time, but if you go back and like watch it, it's super fucking obvious, right? The dude who plays the main character, Jesse, the guy, he was actually like closeted at the time, like he hadn't come out yet as gay, and so he kind of like fit. He was like, he's a male scream queen, honestly, like, and he fucking screams a lot in that movie.
Oh boy.
But yeah, because it was like Freddy was trying to take over his body and come to the real world using his body, and like it was like kind of like a metaphor for homosexuality, like, and coming out, and like there's the scene where like the gym teacher is like at a fucking like I don't remember if it's necessarily a gay bar, but it's like an S&M like bar, and he's wearing leather and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
And he takes and Jesse's there because I think he like sleepwalks there or something at this bar, and he finds him there.
Sure.
And so he takes him to the school to like run laps for like a punishment, I guess, for like underage drinking or whatever.
All right.
And the gym coach is in this like leather outfit the entire time, and he goes to take a shower, and the way he dies is that he's strung up naked in the showers, and like a bunch of towels just come by and like whip him in the ass. It just like seems like that.
Wow.
Where at the time, where like it's not as big of a thing as it is today. Where that's not really obvious, you know what I mean? It's just like some dude just died, but like you go back and watch that movie and you're like, oh, this is super gay. Like all this is really gay.
Happening?
Yeah, like this is a really gay film. Yeah, there's plenty of YouTube videos you can watch about it.
I think I will, because that sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then you have 3, which I feel is the best crafted out of all of them, because they bring back Heather from the first film.
Gotcha. That's always a nice touch. I like when things bring back characters.
Oh, for sure. And
fuck
like
you, Friday the 13th. Anyway.
they kind of bring back characters. It takes them like 4 movies to have a reoccurring character, but
yes, and I love Tommy Jarvis with all my heart. But fuck the first to the second movie, because they allowed the girl to live, and then she dies in the 5 minutes in a really dumb way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I haven't
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. And then they had a reoccurring cast with 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, because 6 was Freddy's Dead, and then 7 was New Nightmare. Yep.
Gotcha.
They had like the Dream trilogy. They had Dream Warriors. What was after Dream Warriors? Dream Master. Yeah, Dream Master, and then Dream Child. So they had that like Dream trilogy going on, but 3's still the best.
Okay.
Mainly because like everyone in their dreams had their own powers and shit like that. All the characters were likable.
Yeah.
Young Lawrence Fishburne.
What a name.
Yeah. and then all the kills are super cool. The welcome to primetime bitch line. Because
I forgot that was from those movies.
Yeah. Because and that was an ad-libbed line as well.
Oh god, that makes it so much better.
I know, right? Because there's the scene where I think this chick cuts herself. And that's it takes place in a mental institution. Another reason that I like that movie, because I always like that.
Wow, surprise.
Yeah. And so this chick cuts herself, and that's the reason she's there. But she wants to become a movie star. And so she's watching TV one night, and she falls asleep. And, obviously Freddy, don't go to sleep. But, like, Freddy, like, is on TV, and he's, like, taunting her and shit like that. So she gets up closer to the TV, and Freddy's, like, hands come out of the TV, and his head does too. And he picks her up by the head. Well, he's like, here's your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch. And slams her fucking head through the TV.
It's so extreme.
I know, but it's so fucking great. And there's another dude who makes puppets. And so Freddy like strings him up by his veins. And like marionettes him up to this top of this like bell tower and cuts the strings so it looks like he just jumped and like killed himself. Even though he's walking up like invisible stairs and shit.
Yeah. Minor detail.
Yeah. But no, it's probably the best one out of the series. I like not New Nightmare. Yeah, New Nightmare. Wes Craven's New Nightmare a lot because it brings it into the real world.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the original characters come back, like the Heather, the chick who played Heather came back. The person who played the dad in Friday in the first film also came back. And they're actually like playing their actors. Wes Craven's in it. Robert Englund's in it.
Okay. All right, I know about this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's not necessarily Freddy. It's like a new thing, and like the whole thing behind Freddy is that he's this entity that comes up so many years where he takes the form.
Stop making movies.
Well, no, that's the thing is that it takes the form of Freddy in this film.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Wes Craven he wants to make a new Freddy movie to please this entity. And because he didn't make the new, and since he's like not fast enough with the new movie, like people are dying because of this entity. And I just like that aspect of it. Like,
it's so silly, and yet it kind of works.
It really works. I think it's a really good film. As silly as that concept is, I don't know. It's kind of like a in the mouth of madness thing, right? Where he's writing these books as a gateway to bring all these monsters into the real world, you know?
Right.
Just like the opposite. He's writing this story to like
contain it.
Yeah, to contain it. Which I like. It is a silly concept, but I like it a lot.
It's one of those concepts where when you introduce it right, it can be done right. But if you say this big bad will only be sealed away if you make movies enough about big bads, then like it comes across so cheesy.
Obviously, that's like the best way I can describe it. But it pulls it off much better in the film.
Oh, totally. I imagine.
It's a very good crafted film.
I think The Nun or something like that, part of the Conjuring franchise or whatever, where they have like a weapon with Jesus' blood or something like that. But you can also say like here's the fucking Jesus bomb.
Here's the fucking thing about that, right? Is that
please wait.
It's so weird because out of the Conjuring series, that's the most like horror fantasy like Lord of the Rings bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's so outlandish compared to everything else.
It really is. Everyone thinks The Nun's like horrible. I didn't think it was that bad. I
think if you separate it from The Conjuring, it makes it so different.
Yeah, for sure. I could see in comparison to the Conjuring series, I could see if people don't necessarily like it. But yeah, it's so weird. It's really weird. It's like we have to. Like long ago, this necromancer summoned a demon, and the Crusaders used the blood of Jesus Christ to seal it away. But now the seal's broken open, and we have to find the blood of Christ again. And it's like what the fuck? Like if you ever sat down and explained that to somebody, that's literally the plot, right?
Yeah, that is the fucking plot. That's not the entirety of the plot.
That's not the entirety of the plot. It's a good portion of it, right?
Okay, all right.
It's the backstory to the plot.
There you go.
It's the backstory to why this demon is here, right?
Yeah. But any of the other plot that's there, man.
If you explain that to somebody and be like, all right, guess what that movie is? Like, I don't think anyone would say The Nun. If you haven't seen The Nun, no one would say The Nun.
Yeah, because what nuns, man? Like,
yeah.
You're talking about Crusader Jesus blood, man.
The scene that kind of took me out of it the most with The Nun, I think, is the scene where the priest gets buried underground.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it just happens so quick. Like, before then, it's very, like, atmospheric, and,
like, trying something with the pacing.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, that happening super quickly kind of took me out for a second, but I was able to easily get back in. Because, like, they set it up with that, like, creepy nun sitting there and like talking to them through the dark. It's like there's something wrong about this nun, like, and like talking to them about how they close everything at night and like you can't get anywhere at night and you have to stay in your rooms and shit like that.
Yeah.
And like the nun
like quarantined them practically. Jeez.
Yeah, and like the nun like locking that other chick into the room.
Yeah.
By the way, the chick who played that like young like the sister. I don't know if you can call them sisters because she technically wasn't one. I don't remember the correct name for it. She's an American Horror Story.
Oh, hey,
She's from American Horror Story. I was looking at her and I'm like, why the fuck does this chick look so familiar? And she in the first season she plays the daughter, and she shows up through the other seasons as well. But that's just what I remember her from the most. And I think she plays like the main witch in Coven.
Okay.
Like the young witch in Coven.
Yeah.
But yeah, it bothered me the entire fucking movie. I'm like, this chick looks so fucking familiar. What the fuck is she from? And
who are you?
Yeah, and then at the end, I finally like IMDb'd it, and I was like, oh, that's who she is.
Bless IMDb.
I know, right?
Really comes in handy.
Thankfully, I can remember it right now. But for the fucking longest time, I could never remember Tommy Lee Jones's name. And I'm like, who the fuck? Like, he was in Men in Black. He would play fucking Two-Face and Batman Forever. What the fuck is his name? It's like, oh, Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
I haven't seen Tommy Lee Jones.
He's got 3 first names. That's like the most untrustworthy person ever.
I haven't seen Tommy Lee Jones in anything in a while.
No, where is he? Tommy, get on it.
The last thing I saw him in was in Men in Black 3, and he's in that movie for like 20 minutes.
He's barely in it. What a weird movie. It's surprisingly okay.
It's okay. It's they got that Pitbull song.
Oh God, right. Fuck. Let's go back to talking about nuns and Jesus blood.
But yeah, and then to get off on another topic, collecting Japanese horror films are fun.
Yeah, I imagine.
Let's see. Let me look. I think House is one of my favorite ones. Mary Bito is pretty good. I'm just looking at all the ones that I have up here. Right. The original Ringu, fucking phenomenal. It is such a good movie. I love the pacing of that film. Though I will say that something about Japanese horror films, if you ever want to get into them, to anyone who might be watching this later,
wink, wink.
I will say is slow. They're slow paced.
Yes.
All of them are like an hour and 30 minutes, but they're super slow paced.
But you don't even get to any like the actual shit until like way into them.
Yeah, sometimes don't expect anything to happen until like the last 30 minutes. Yep.
They build up that atmosphere, man.
They really do, and it's satisfying. It is.
It's so satisfying. It is.
Like you always see like glimpses, but like shit starts going down in like the last 30 minutes.
You know, just really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw the Aoni movie.
No, but, I didn't.
Boy, howdy, does that one just like take the Japanese horror storytelling and say "frick you"?
Oh, really?
First 10 minutes, man. There's blue shit going around the place.
I feel like that's how the game was, though.
It is, and like, you know, but like, I don't even think they're in a fucking house. They're in like a weird school. It's a weird movie, and there's some kid who collects dirt, and we loved him. I don't remember any other character but the dirt collecting kid.
Nice. Hey, that's the only character you have to remember, you know?
He was so important. Anyway, I'm sorry. Please talk more about other ones.
Don't worry about it. The One Missed Call trilogy. Oh, we could have a whole podcast about that. I've heard good things about that.
Maybe I should watch them then so we can.
Whoever told you that was fucking wrong.
Oh, really?
The first one's decent.
Okay.
Just because that is Takashi Miike directing.
Gotcha.
And I might have a bias because he's my favorite Japanese director.
But of course.
But he does some good stuff that really helps that film.
Uh-huh.
But it has one of those twists that make no sense.
Oh, okay.
At the end. Second one, god fucking awful. It's so bad. The third one tries to go back to the original. So they set up so much shit at the end of the original, barely mentioned it in the second one, and then by the time they got to the third one, they totally were like, no, we're not going to, no, go.
Forget that shit.
They're just going to focus on the ghost from the first one, and we're going to banish it. It's going to go away.
Okay. You know, wrap it up. I can respect that.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. And they didn't even fucking wrap it up. They left it open. But no, maybe I had to rewatch them again because I watched the first one and I'm like, that was okay. The ending didn't really make sense. Like if you were to turn it off before like in like the last 20 minutes plays out, I feel like you have a pretty solid movie.
Okay.
With a pretty satisfying ending. But then just shit happens. I feel like Takashi Miike, his directing style and stuff that happened in that film, like the kills and stuff like that, was fine. And I feel like that really helped the movie. But then the other two are not directed by Takashi Miike.
Gotcha.
And the second
He
one
saw the future and he decided, nope, don't want to mess with that.
Yeah, he did the one, and he was like, "Yep, done, not coming back." And then the second one. The second one focuses on a completely different ghost and a completely different situation, but it keeps teasing shit like they set up in the first one. Where it's like, hey, remember that thing we did at the end of the first one, and remember this ghost? Like, it's still here. But they don't do anything. They don't fucking do anything about it. It's just like, hey, don't worry, we didn't forget about that stuff. Hey, we're competent film directors. We're competent filmmakers because we didn't forget about that stuff from the first film. We just want to tell our own story. But don't worry, we're gonna throw stuff in from the first one. And it's so fucking awful. It's so bad. Like the concept of the second ghost is kind of cool, and why she's a vengeful spirit. But I remember the way they set it up was stupid. All the inclusion of the first stuff was stupid, and I remember the very ending being stupid. I have blanked it from my memory, so I can't exactly remember.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's bad. The third one's okay at best.
It's bad. If you watch it, you'll feel bad.
Yeah. The third one's okay at best because like everyone starts freaking out. Because it's like I can't remember. It's like a Japanese school going on like a school trip somewhere.
Okay.
And for the school trip, they're given cell phones. Or they have their own cell phones. I don't remember. It's either they're given cell phones or they already had their own cell phones as a way to keep in contact with everyone.
Right.
Which makes sense. And then like everyone starts freaking out because people are getting these texts and these phone calls that are making them die and shit like that. And then like this chick is like possessed by the first ghost and is like killing people and choosing people to kill. And she's like, because like, oh no, she was in a coma. And like she's, and it's like all through the computers. And at the end, it's like, hey, maybe if we get enough people to post on this message board, she can't kill people anymore. And we can go and stop her. And it's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, and then
does that make any sense?
And then they like banish the ghost, right? And and then she comes back like 10 minutes later.
God damn.
And it's like, oh my god. I think the third movie's even called the final chapter or like final or something like that. But, you know, then you look at Saw and they had the final chapter, but they made like fucking they made Jigsaw afterwards, but
yeah, that sounds about right. And you know, on that note,
yeah.
I think it's a real high note to end things on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I guess we should start wrapping up, huh?
Yeah, I gotta go eat food.
So do I.
And by that, I gotta make food and then eat it.
I don't know what I'm gonna eat though. I'll figure it out.
You will. I believe in you.
I believe in you. You can do it.
I with the power of it, you friendship,
power of friendship, and magic,
and magic.
Yeah.
God damn.
It's like the ending of Sonic Heroes. With friendship, we could do anything. We could defeat Ultra Metal Sonic. Yeah, friendship. Gotta go
Sonic
fast.
right now.
Oh yeah, fuck.
It's too soon.
You want to talk about a fucking horror movie?
We haven't even seen it. We know. No.
So before we end, right?
Okay.
By the way, check out Crypt TV. I'm wearing their new shirt right now. Check out Crypt TV. Very good monsters.
Watch Crypt TV. So good. I'm sure we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah, we could probably have a whole episode about Crypt TV, to be honest.
Oh, hell yeah. By that time, I'll actually have watched all of them.
But somebody posted the poster for Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was like and tweeted to Crypt TV. It's like, wow, the new Crypt TV monster looks fucking horrifying.
I'm so glad. Okay, that's a good note. That ends it on.
Good shit.
Good shit.
But yeah, I guess I'll put this up on, I guess, my YouTube channel.
Hell
as,
yeah.
like as a backup. But yeah, don't know when the next episode's coming out. We might do this. Yeah, probably January. We're gonna do this monthly, and then maybe move to bi-weekly later on.
Yeah,
when CG is a little less busy with stuffs.
I know. What's my life? Jeez.
What is your life? I don't
Good
know.
question.
I don't. But yeah, thanks for anyone who stopped by. This has been the Haunted Horror Hour, hosted by me and, as I said, the lovely CG. Please check out all of her stuff.
Shucks.
At CynicalGhostie, right, on Twitter.
On everything. Ever.
On everything. And also
everything.
Also on Twitch.
Twitch and Tumblr and Instagram. Everything.
Just everything. But yeah, go check out CG stuff. CG is doing a Vlogmas on her YouTube that I need to admittedly catch up on.
That's okay.
Because I've just been too busy.
That's fine.
Playing all the Smash and the Zombies games and all that
Dude,
fun
Smash
stuff.
takes priority. I won't. I had to combine 2 of the days because one of them I spent half of it playing Smash, and I was like, "That's not enough content."
Yeah, just 3 seconds of like, I've just been playing Smash all day.
Yeah, like you'll get to see later that there's just like 2 minutes, and then I decide to combine the next day.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh man.
But yeah, this has been fun. Hopefully we'll see you January. We don't know what we're gonna talk about next. Maybe Crypt TV.
Maybe Softies, maybe Crypt TV. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe a movie, like a movie that's come out or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a horror film, but I'm super excited for that escape room movie. That I've been seeing trailers for. Have you seen trailers for that?
No. I
You
will soon.
you need to look that up because it's literally about
Okay.
killer escape rooms.
Oh hell yeah.
It's very a la Saw, but it's more like going room to room, and the rooms being based off of all the people in it. Which I guess arguably is also Saw, but
Okay. Well, yeah.
but still, worth to check out at least the trailer.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. Once again, this has been the Haunted Horror Hour, hosted by me and the lovely CG.
If you say it enough times, you'll just not mess up the name again.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have a good afternoon. I'm not sure about CG. I don't know what she wants you to do, but yeah.
I want you to hug a tree.
Oh. Well, you heard it here first. Go hug trees, everyone. Yeah, have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.